What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Confidently Flawed. As promised, if you listened to last week's episode, we are back with another week with our guest, Brian. We had such a good episode last week. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, please go back and listen to that episode. Brian was just sharing a little bit about his mission and his pivot in life and what he's really aiming to do. And he brought up this point that obviously Danny and I both sparked interest to, where Brian was sharing about one of his methods of helping people and coaching people is using a method of 6 pillars and really focusing on those 6 pillars. So we'll just get right into it, Brian. If we can just start kind of chatting about that, and maybe if you really quick, if someone hasn't listened to the last episode, like a quick 30-second, who you are and what you do, and specifically how you're coaching people, and then we can kind of dive into these 6 pillars that you mentioned last week.
Yeah. So I just made a major career change. I was in the surf industry for 30 years, competitive sports, extreme water sports. And then now I am actually shifted to helping people in a more deeper manner. So I work with them as a transformational coach, and then I also do mental performance coach for athletes as well. So the mind is everything. I start with the mind. It's a trickle down effect. And it's really just really helping people create less suffering in their lives and just to live a more meaningful, desirable life where they're really have more joy and love in their heart over stress and negativity. So that's the short end.
I love it. I love it. So let's kind of dive into what you're like, let's get into these 6 pillars and just if you can really kind of explain what they are and how that exactly like serves and helps people in specific.
Sure. So when I went through my transformation, I really wanted to find out like what are other people doing? Like what are the most successful people that are healthy, happy, living longer lives? What are they all doing? And I came up with these 6 pillars that was just, really similar to all these high entrepreneurs and athletes and just these people that are just living incredible lives. And it's mindset, nutrition, exercise, learning, connection, and rest. So when I started incorporating all those into my life, everything again started to change. And I became a much happier person. I changed my brain. I had head injuries growing up. I know, Brooke, you did too. And I increased everything like through neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. And, that was just when I started incorporating these things into my life, like again, my whole life completely changed. I was able to manage stress much easier. I could regulate my emotions much quicker. I didn't carry things with me, something that happened yesterday. I didn't bring it on to the next day. Or I could let things go much quicker. Somebody says something to me and I could be like, well, you know what? That has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with them and not taking it personally. So when I incorporate all this, my life completely changed. And again, this was the true reason why I really wanted to help other people because I'd have people come into my shop and I'm talking about their personal problems and like, man, well, I did this, this, and this really helped. Well, just try this one thing. And then they would come back a week later and like, oh my God, that helped. What's the next thing? So I was like a counselor in my own shop, not selling gear, but I was helping people. So it was cool, but it made me realize, okay, uh, the direction I needed to go. So
I feel like you know, you're never gonna know like it was one specific thing that you want to do for the rest of your life. And I feel like your life is what teaches you what you want to do. And obviously, like through this, you're finding a passion in helping people. And as you were saying, like there was a reason why people were coming in and asking you questions and wanting more counseling support than actually, I don't know if they were ending up buying stuff from your shop, but like they clearly were coming back for you and your support. And so I think that's really cool that you realized, hey, like I'm getting fulfillment from this. This is wonderful. Like I'm helping people. This is a passion of mine. And to not only realize that, but to not stay, I don't want to say stuck is the right word, but like stay in your comfort of your shop. Like you closed shop to pursue this passion that you found was something that was really fulfilling you and helping others. And I think that's a cool part of life and a cool takeaway for people to realize like you're not stuck where you're at. If you aren't fulfilled there, like, and you are finding yourself fulfilled in other areas, like it is okay to move forward. It's scary, But, like Danny had shared last episode, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side, and that's okay. And we learn that through life.
Yeah, and fear stops so many people. And also the fact that most people think they're going to live a long life. And we don't know. Life is short. It really is. I told you in the last episode, I almost lost my life 3 times. And I realized that each day is a gift. And, most people get to the end of their lives. There was a woman named Bonnie Ware, and she wrote a book called Five Regrets of the Dying. And she wanted to know, and she spent, as a caregiver at hospice, she spent over 30 years with these people. And she would ask them the same questions, and about 90% of them were all the same. The one of the biggest ones is, I wish I would have lived the life I wanted to live. I wish I had the courage to go off and do those things. And the one that really blew me away was, I wish I would have been happier. I mean, that shocked me, and it gives me chills to even think about that, where happiness is a choice. And so when I realized that about, oh my gosh, how many times I've lost my life, and I feel like either, whatever you want to look at it, God, creator, the universe, Gaia, um, kept me here for a reason. So I knew that. And really, when you realize that tomorrow's never promised, you start taking more risk. You really do. Not in a bad way, not in a negative way. I'm not going to go, skydiving when I've never learned how to skydive before, but I'm going to take the lessons and then I'm going to do it, right? So it really comes down to knowing that our days are short. Each day I wake up and I do the gratitude, but one of the gratitudes, I'm thankful to live, or to wake today, because 150,000 people don't wake up every day. Think about that. 150,000 people in the world don't wake up. So when we start realizing how short life is, then we start taking those risks, and we don't let fear hold us back. There's an analogy for fear as false evidence appearing real, but you can switch that to face everything and rise. So I always tell people that, switch the analogy. Think of fear as just facing everything, but facing everything and rising up. And the people that do that, to take those risks, are so much more fulfilled in their life than the 80% of the people that don't like their jobs. I mean, 80%, imagine that. And do you know the number one day for heart attacks? What day it is? Take a guess. Number one day for heart attacks.
Monday, Monday.
Bingo, bingo. And there's a reason. They're stressed. They don't want to go into work. And so they're going through their weekend, and then Sunday comes around and like, oh, I gotta go to that job again. So half their Sunday's ruined because they're already thinking about the negative, job that they have to go to. So, when we realize that life is short, we start living the life that we want to. And when you know what people are saying on their last breath, that I wish I'd have lived the life fulfilled to myself and what I really wanted to do. And when you look at that, and that so many people felt the same way, that's when you start opening up and saying, you know what, I am going to take that risk. So like me risking taking, like leaving a comfortable, business that I had. I mean, I was comfortable. I could have done this forever. I had, most of my winters were off, and I had a great life, and I was traveling, and I'm like, this isn't my purpose. And so
Hmm.
I keep going back to a Stoic philosophy called memento mori. And memento mori is just something they would either have like a ring or a tattoo on them, is remember you will die. And if you know that every day, you start to really throw things away and say, you know what, this is my true purpose. This is what I want to do. Whether it's serving somebody, whether it's, you know, getting to that goal that you've always wanted to do, that business you always wanted to pursue, and you just take the risk. Because every entrepreneur, everybody that you look at that are millionaires and billionaires, they had to take a risk. They had to take that step in that right direction. So for me, it was just knowing that, hey, you know what, tomorrow's not promised. I may not live tomorrow, so I want to live the best day I can.
So you're saying there's something to Tim McGraw's "Live Like You Were Dying" song.
Oh, is that a song?
You've never heard that song?
I'm not a country guy. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a very famous
Me
song,
neither.
but yes, Tim
Okay.
McGraw, it's probably one of the most famous Tim McGraw songs, but
Is it?
it's
Okay.
Live Like You're Dying, and that's what the whole song is about. So
It's true though, isn't it? It really is when you really think about it, because we think we're going to live forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you realize that, when you come to like periods in your life where maybe you almost lost your life, or maybe something happened where, you could have been an actor, whatever it was, you start to look at life much differently. I wake up now and I'm like just so grateful. Like, and then your clarity, you see things much differently. You
Yeah.
see the trees more vibrant. You see people with more love and compassion in you, and it really does shift your perspective. So anybody that that has gone through that, you'll see they take more risks. Not again, not negative risks. Like I'm not going to go out and do drugs because I may not live tomorrow. No, it's positive things, things
Right.
that you want to aspire to be. And again, the person that you want to be or create yourself too. So,
I think a lot of people too, like, will think of that and they'll be like, that's such a morbid way of living or thinking. But like,
mhm.
what's a harder way to live? Thinking about that so you're more effective and have a better life versus living your whole life wishing that you would have done that from the get-go. You know what I mean? Because it's, if like you said, when you flip it in reverse and like when you are in that situation of being on your deathbed, you wish you would have done it before. So it's really not a morbid way of thinking. It's a truth way of thinking because you're probably going to think that way anyway. So, and I love these kind of conversations, Brian, and I'm learning a lot. I'm sure a lot of people listening are learning a lot as well. But you mentioned before, and you even mentioned it last episode, like success leaves clues. And from your findings, and my findings as well, being in health, fitness, lifestyle stuff, is the ones that are generally the most successful generally all do similar things. So we kind of talked about the six pillars of, what you call, and I don't know if you have a name for it, but like, to tell us a little bit about, like, how you view things of when you're trying to become the best version of yourself, you're trying to be somebody that would be happy and proud on your deathbed. Like, there's six things that you feel everybody should be doing. Can you kind of like dive a little bit deeper into those six things, and give some context on them, and then maybe some things like little one, two, three things that they can start to do today that might be small actionable item things that they can do to start working on these six pillars.
Absolutely. So mindset is the number one, as we talked about earlier. All change resides in the mind. So, as Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So you have to make those changes. So my morning starts with, and this is again, when you look at the most successful people, Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma wrote a book called The 5 a.m. Club. And when I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I started getting up at 5 a.m. And now I had more time for myself, even before my family woke up, that I could actually do these things. So I would start with stretching, I would start with meditation, breath work, journaling. Journaling is huge. And I'm going to say this right now, like getting your thoughts on paper, whether it's things that you can't maybe talk to your friends about, things that are on your mind, things that you want to do throughout the day. Like, and again, these are the things that I saw like all these high entrepreneurs doing. They journal, they work out, they meditate. Meditation was like 90% of them. I incorporate a little bit of breath work and mental imagery as well. So I'm manifesting at the same time. So those little things, and I always tell people start with the small things. So just start with, I'll have clients just start with gratitude, three things you're grateful for in the morning, and doing just a 1 minute meditation, super simple, and then increase that. And then maybe add in journaling on top of that for, maybe a couple weeks down the road. So again, small, consistent habits, small little routines lead to huge growth spurts down the road. I use another analogy of the bamboo tree. If you know this analogy, the bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow, but they have to water it every day. Now think about this. They got this spot on the ground and they have to water this, and it's nothing's happening, right? Well, it's happening down below. The roots are starting to grow. And then after I think it's 4 or 5 years, it actually spouts like 30 feet in 2 weeks. It's wild. Yeah. So I love that analogy because you're watering it, you're doing the consistent routines, it's happening. It's happening below ground though, right? And then all of a sudden, bam. And that's what happens. And that's what started happening to me. I started doing these things and these small little habits and routines, and it just started to make such a huge difference, especially with, again, the meditation, the breath work, the journaling. These are things where just starting to be more present throughout the day, focusing on breath, maybe taking, I have a friend that does this thing where every hour he has it on his alarm clock, and all he does is he just sits and he does this pranayama breath work, which is you breathe in 4 seconds through the nose, you hold it for 7 seconds, you breathe out the mouth like you're blowing out through a straw for 7 seconds. He does 3 rounds of that, takes 1 minute. So he centers himself. And it's wild what starts to happen when you do just these small little things. And when you start doing them consistently, you start creating those habits, those good habits, right? Because everything is habits. And these things I've been doing now for 10 years. Like they're ingrained. I wake up at 5:30. I do my stretch, I do my meditation, I do my breath work, I do my drilling, and I always read for about maybe 5 minutes. So I'm always engaging the brain, always thinking of something. So that's been consistent. Now, people say they don't have enough time. Well, what time do you wake up in the morning? You know? So wake up a little earlier. And if you really want to make those changes and you really want to make you know, if you want to be consistent with what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do, then these habits have to be done consistently. And it takes like 30 to 60 days to instill those habits where it becomes repetition, where it's like when I don't do them, I feel off. When I don't meditate in a day, I feel off. And it's very rare that that happens. So mindset's the big thing. Nutrition, whole foods, staying away from processed foods. That's, one of the biggest things. And I know we live a fast lifestyle. And, people used to say like, well, how do you stay healthy? Because when I had the surf shop, I was always traveling. I was always moving. I was always doing different things here and there. So I would make food. I would make my own food. Instead of stopping at a fast food restaurant, I had preset foods. And it really helped. So nutrition's such a big thing for the mind, for cognitive enhancement, for mental acuity. Also, we talked about earlier, our gut health can be very disruptive by the processed foods that we're eating, that the stress that we're inundated with. So that produces 90% of our serotonin, which is a feel-good neurochemical. So things like that, that's huge. Nutrition was a big thing that I changed with my brain, having had injuries. I really increased neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. Again, food was a big thing. Exercise, so I don't even have to tell you guys this. You guys know this. It's the best antidepressant, it really is. I feel like when I don't get my workout for the day, I kind of feel off. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It's one of the best things that we can do for ourselves. Constantly learning, engaging the brain. It's so important. You know, you can stave off Alzheimer's and dementia by food alone and by always constantly learning. It's crazy. It really is. Like they've almost been able to slowly reverse Alzheimer's and dementia. And if you guys know this, it's actually in Europe, it's called type 3 diabetes. Yes. So Brooke, it's amazing. So when you know this, you stay away from those sugars and you start eating more whole foods and you feel better. Like you actually mentally, physically, cognitively feel better. So, again, learning is such a big thing and it's, I'm always trying to learn new things. I'm always engaging the mind. I'm always trying to remember new quotes. So like whether it's like learning a musical instrument, learning a new language, playing pickleball. Like, I don't know, that's the big thing right now, right? Like everybody loves pickleball, but like they actually said for seniors, it's great mental cognition because it's hand-eye coordination. And like it's amazing because it's one of the newest things for mental acuity. So pickleball. So we actually just tried it for the first time in Florida, and my partner Chelsea actually got me a pickleball racket, and so we're gonna start playing. Pretty cool. And then connection, human connection, man, like that's so important. Um, our ancestors, it's basically embedded into us in our DNA to be with community. And when we were ousted by the community, our ancestors, well, fear instilled in them because they knew that they were alone and they couldn't fight off the dinosaurs or another tribe. So when we're alone, when we're disconnected from our friends and depression's going to happen, anxiety's going to happen because it's embedded in us. But when we have that community, just whether that's the few friends, and unfortunately, women, Danny, have more friends than we as men, unfortunately, and especially as they get older, it's just a normal thing that, women have that connection. It's something men need to do. And Danny, I want to talk to you because I'm going to be doing a men's retreat. So love to have you a part of that. So having that connection, but the authentic connection, the deep connection. As men, again, I'm going to go back to us because, we just want to talk about the sports and about, everything else, but we don't get to the deep, what's bothering us, like where our heart feels, like, what we're dealing with at home, things like that. We disconnect and we can't authentically talk to our friends about that, our deep friends. So I have these connections of guys. Like I have these guys that I love to talk sports with, but I have these guys that we can talk meaningful, about meaningful relationships and about our problems. And then, rest is one of the biggest things. Sleep is so important. People don't realize that. They think that, okay, I can just go through 4 hours of sleep, and they think it's a great thing. Like, oh, I'm working harder and I'm sleeping 4 hours. I'm like, no, it's not it. Like sleep is so important, and consistent sleep too. So sleep patterns, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. Our body loves consistency. It really does. And when we're on our screens at night, when we're you know whether we're engaging in alcohol, things like that, that does not help us sleep. The blue light disrupts our circadian rhythm. That's important. So, when you are looking at getting good sleep, it starts the night before. So eliminating blue screen, not drinking water like an hour before you go to bed, not eating 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed because your body's metabolizing, so you can't get into that deep REM sleep. And when I started really being conscious about my sleep, it changed so much. It really did. I felt better. I felt more you guys know when you only get 3, 4 hours of sleep, how you feel. I mean, you're dragging throughout the day, right? Now imagine just being refreshed, coming up every morning, but being consistent. And when you're consistent with that rest and you're getting that deep REM sleep, it really changes everything. It's again, neurogenesis happens through that. There's a washing mechanism. I can't go too much into detail because I know a little bit about it, but it does this washing mechanism in your brain where it's filing things that you've learned away so you can remember them. It's quite interesting. I don't know the proper name for it, but I realized when I started using these 6 pillars, my life completely changed. And when I use them with clients and they start with the small steps, makes all the difference in the world. So,
I think like this is incredible, Brian, and I think it's very valuable for people. And I've said it before, like don't it doesn't mean you have to go do all of it right away. Like take one thing at a time, or maybe find your biggest weakest link and start working on that. But I like the bamboo story, and it really reminds me of, the Rocky cut scene, right? Where it's like they're struggling, they're hurting, and then all of a sudden they're a champion, right? And I think a lot of people see those overnight successes or think that that's what it's supposed to be like, but it's really not. It's the watering the roots that you do not see yet for 5 years until they grow up 30 feet in a day. And it looks like it's an overnight thing when really it was the work that was put in over years and years and consistency. So, I think I can't imagine anybody listening say, if I got better sleep, if I exercised more, if I ate better, if I worked on my mindset, if I focused on my stress and my recovery with sleep and I connected with more people, right? Like they're going to live a better life no matter what. So whether that's like you take this and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna really tackle nutrition right now, or I'm gonna really tackle exercise, or it's like, what can I do to just get 1% better in all of these and do something small in all of these? I think, and Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really just about taking action on them more so than about being perfect. But I do agree with what Brian said, like it starts with the mindset. If we can get the mindset right and work on that, it's just going to make all those other things easier, because we all have excuses. We're all busy, right? Oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to do this, but you look at people that are extremely busy, extremely like, and I'm going to leave politics out of it, right? But like Elon Musk, like he owns or runs multiple very large businesses. So you'd be like, well, how does he have time to do X, Y, or Z? But he figures it out. You know what I mean? And it's regardless of what you think of him, it shows that like we can all find time if we prioritize it. And I think that's the big thing. And for me, at least, big takeaway is, there's those 6 domains that you want to improve upon and that are going to make a drastic impact in your life, starting with mindset. But it just comes down to consistency and having that overnight success. And I'm using quotations, you know what I mean? Because it's not really what it is. And I think a lot of people too, they start to do this stuff and then they don't see the early rewards from it, so then they give up right before they're about to hit the reward center, and it's like you got to stay consistent, and if you do those things they will eventually pay off, but it comes down to, like, you just have to do them and you have to be consistent with it.
Absolutely. It's progress over perfection, right? So just small little steps. And I love that you said something because it made me picture this cartoon. You ever see this cartoon of there's a guy on top and there's a guy on the bottom and they're digging for gold? And the one guy is like almost there and he turns around and the other guy keeps digging and he's going to get to it like in the next dig, right? Like, and that's what we constantly do. We're like, oh, we're not seeing the effects. You will. You really will. Like if I put like a client on like a different on his like a different diet completely, more nutritional dense, more greens, leafy greens, things like that, they notice the difference within a week. They're like, oh my God, in a week. When I first started meditating 10 years ago, I felt a difference in a week. I was actually more productive. I'm at work and I'm like, wow, I'm more focused, I'm more driven. Like I felt so much more productive. So you will start seeing those results, but they're not going to be the ones and that are just going to be like, oh my God, this is transformational. I can't wait to keep doing this. It's that consistency when you do it time after time. And you're so right. It's if you see the most successful people, you didn't see what they're doing at 5 o'clock in the morning. The best athletes working out at 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, before they went to their jobs, things like that. So it's what's behind the scenes that, that sprouts afterwards, but yeah, you're absolutely right though. These are the things that we have to just, if we just take those small steps. Again, it's not about perfection. It's just about daily incremental improvements every single day, 1%. And you will start seeing them. You really will. And then you get to a point where you're like, why would I do anything different? I feel so good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't drink alcohol, but like, let's say I drank like a beer like 5 years ago. I felt like shit. I'm like, oh my God, I feel horrible. Like my body's like rejecting it. Like, wait, this is not what you do. So
Yeah, like, if that's how you're feeling, like, then maybe I shouldn't be doing it, you know what I mean?
right, right.
Berg, I
Well, I
don't know if you
think
want to
too,
say.
it's really cool when you know what it feels like to feel good and you also know what it feels like to feel bad and you can use that to like remind yourself, obviously we're all not perfect, like, and like Danny shared at the when you were kind of sharing everything, like it's not a all or nothing approach where we have to dive into everything like to the full component, even if it's a little bit here and there. And we're all human. You might slip up. You might forget your gratitude one morning. You might have a beer one night. But I think what's so like what I always at least remind myself is like you know what you feel like when you feel good and you know when you feel like when you feel bad and use that for motivation. Like I don't like to feel this way. So whatever I'm doing to feel this way that makes me feel bad, I'm going to do the opposite or do what I know makes me feel good. And I think that's important to remember too is, you know, your body and some things might work for some people and some things might not work for other people, so don't compare yourself. Well, they're doing all of these things and they feel great, but I'm doing those same things and it's not helping me. Like figure out what's working for you and what approaches are going to help you and stick to that and remember those feelings because our mind remembers those feelings. Like your mind remembers what makes you feel good and what makes you feel bad. Like there's a reason why you feel a little bit guilty grabbing that processed food because your mind knows, hey, that doesn't make you feel good. But like you might feel a lot better reaching for that, in my eyes, that nice juicy steak. But you know what's gonna make you feel good. So yeah, this is all great stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. And you know what? The interesting part when you said that is that a lot of people think they feel good. They don't know
Mm,
how it feels to really feel good, right?
yeah.
They're like, well, I feel okay. Well, try this for a week and just see, I experimented on myself because you're right. Everybody is different. So I experimented. I'm like, okay, I know the scientific research of meditation. The first week I did it, I felt a difference. I'm like, why would I
Hmm.
not continue? I feel good. And they even equivalent meditation, like a 20-minute meditation in the afternoon is equivalent to 3 hours of sleep. It's wild. Like I do
Oh,
a
wow.
20-minute morning and meditation in the afternoon when I am able to, and I am so much more alert. It's like instead of drinking that coffee or that, energy drink, that's how I feel. But like, it's
Mm,
like without that, and it's healthy. So, and then again, the studies on meditation's been unbelievable. So, yeah, so it was experimental on myself. What's feeling good? What can I do? And again, yeah, you don't have to do all these things. Just try a little bit at a time. But what I ask is just be consistent with it. Give it 30 days. Do it for 30 days and then see, hey, okay, this isn't working for me. Great. Okay, well, let's try something else type of thing. But if you look at like, again, go back to success leaves clues. I mean, look at most entrepreneurs. Like they're
mm,
built, like they're healthy. Like, I mean, it's wild when you look at every entrepreneur, it's like, dude, you're like muscular. Like you got
yeah.
it's like so, and they're running 6, 7 businesses or more, and they're still getting that time to work out. They're still getting that time to do their meditation or their journaling or what have you. So it really is, again, your mind will tell you, oh, I don't have enough time, and we really have to make the time. And there always is. There's 24 hours in a day. So I'll fight anybody when they say I don't have the time. Okay, well, tell me your schedule. All right, you work 8 hours, you drive maybe 2 hours of that, exercise, you eat, you do all these things. Well, where's that other 6 hours? What are you doing at that time? Whether it's in front of the TV, whether it's on their cell phones or whatever, there's always that time. So I fight people all the time on that. It's 24 hours in the day. So like, there's always enough time. So.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Brian, this is super helpful, and hopefully a lot of people got some value from this. Where can people listening like find out more about you and kind of what you do in the community?
Sure. Brian at brianlefeve.com. That's my website. I also have a new website. I'm starting to work with athletes because I've been an athlete all my life as a mental performance coach, but I am incorporating all these meditation, breath work. And again, I'm going to go back to success leaves clues. You look at Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, they all did the same things. They were the best athletes for a reason because they used these modalities that I use and what I'm teaching, and it's just, it's obviously it will make you a better athlete. And of course, the mind. And I talk to athletes all the time, like what percentage of your sport is mental? And they'll all tell me 80 to 90. And then I ask them the next question, well, how much of that do you train? Well, nothing, So it's like you look at the top best and they train their minds as well. So my mental performance is Brian at Elite, ELITEM as in mind, B as in body, O as in optimization.com. And then I'm on social media, Brian Lefeve and Coach Brian Lefeve. So you can find me there as well.
Awesome. And I'll link all of those for you guys in the show notes just so you have easy access to them as well. So, Brian, thanks again so much for joining us these last 2 weeks. This was so informative. And listeners, I hope you guys got value from this as well. As we always ask, if you got any value from this, if you could give us a rating and review and share this with anybody that you know, we would appreciate it so very much. And until then, we'll be back next week with another episode of Confidently Flawed.